Hello, West Michigan. Welcome to Let's Connect. We're here today at Resurrection Life Church, and today's show is about community, the structure of belonging, with our guest speaker, Peter Block. So enjoy the show, and if you like what you had heard today, we welcome you to give us a call and join us in our continued community conversations.
Good evening, and it is really gratifying to see all the folks that came in tonight, kind of swam through the rain to be here and going to join us in this conversation tonight. My job is to introduce our facilitator, and it's been a couple of years now since I was introduced to Peter Block's work. I was at a conference and I heard Peter's name in a keynote speaker, and this gentleman was just inspired by the work. And before I'd even left the auditorium, I had Googled on my phone Peter Block's name and his work, and I'll admit that I had his book on the way to my office before I even left that conference. And it's been one of those journeys that I've just absolutely enjoyed, and enjoyed taking a number of other people along with me. And so to call Peter a facilitator to me is a little bit, not the right word. I call him a conductor. He's taking me on a journey to community, and a conductor in the sense that he's led me on this journey, and he's led a number of other people on this journey. But then I also consider him a conductor of gifts, and a conductor in the sense that he brings people together like Rashida and the people of this Ion Grant team that came together under a context of let's find a way to be welcoming to all people, to all gifts, and find a way to make this community more inclusive and more a community of hospitality. And so in that sense, he's a conductor of a symphony that brings each of us together with each of our gifts, each of our songs to play in a wider story to be told. And I'm not going to talk anymore because that's not why you're here. We're here to talk to each other, not to listen to me. So without any further ado, please, Peter Block.
So you showed up. I have evidence of that because I can see you. Anybody who wants to deny that you're here, it's not going to work. And it means something that you showed up because you came here by choice. See, most of the world operates by mandate. Most of our days are spent doing what someone else has in mind for us. Most of the schools had something in mind for me. My parents had something in mind for me. Institution has something in mind for us, which means that it's a patriarchal culture that we live in. It's a consumer culture that we live in. The message in a consumer culture is that whoever you are, it's not enough. No matter what you're doing, it's not enough. I say, well, I'm a work in progress. Not enough. So basically, the larger world says we're deficiencies. If you want to raise money to do good in the world, you got to have a deficiency. You got to have a need. Got to be something wrong with me. Got to be working on something. Got to demonstrate accountability and progress. And this is the world. So in some sense, your coming tonight is to create an alternative to that. Because that world isn't working that great. We're not doing a great job of raising our children. We're worried about safety. We think the neighborhood's dangerous. Now, right now, my children, overall, we let them roam 1 block from the house, and more than a block, we're nervous, which means we're living very, very nervous lives. And then the message is, if you're living a nervous life, there's something wrong with you. You need to go get health care. All right? I hold my doctor responsible for my health. It's too much for me to bear. I like fat grams. I don't like exercise. And so I go to my doctor and I say, Dottie, it's your job to keep me healthy. What you got in mind? And so I become a consumer even of my own health. I want better living through chemistry. And our kids, we want to medicate our kids because they have too much energy for us. And so this is the world we're living in. It's a consumer society. It says no matter who you are, you're not enough. More is required. We wonder why rich people want more money, because it's not enough. Whatever you got is not enough. And so it's a scarcity culture. So I have us coming together tonight to experience and talk about the alternative to a scarcity culture, because it's an imposed alternative. It's a constructed alternative. It's not the way the world is. The world has as much abundance as it has scarcity. We're told to compete. You got to be competitive. We have kids, and if you got the money, you start hiring trainers for your kids at the moment of birth. All right? We're going to go earlier and earlier. We're going to train these kids. Sooner or later, we're going to have little loudspeakers in the belly before birth saying, learn to read, watch, spot, run. And so you have all this kind of nervousness on our part, all this early education, and it's based on competition. So I went to school, and every class gave a grade, and I wanted a B. I was too nervous to get an A and too scared to get a C, so I'm a B student. I'm a B kind of guy. If I got an A, I'd go to the teacher and I'd say, there's something wrong here. I don't deserve an A, too much pressure. And then we have the normal curve, right? So many get A's, so many get middle, so many get F's. And if I'd had any integrity, which I didn't, I'd have gone to the kids that failed and I'd said, thank you. Because you got a D or an F, my B was much easier to get. And I just didn't want you to think that went unnoticed. I'm grateful. And one other thing, there's another semester coming up, so if you wouldn't mind taking the hit for me, I'd be doubly grateful. And this was needed to motivate me, because we know that children are not motivated. They don't like to play. They don't have energy. And so we have this culture of scarcity, this culture of competition, this deep belief that whatever you have, it's not enough. And so to me, that is the dominant narrative that I'm living into. That is the consumer culture. No matter what I buy, it's obsolete as soon as I pay for it. As soon as I buy anything electronic, by the time I get to the car, I got to run back in and get another one, because it's out of date. It's 5 minutes old. And so it's an obsolete culture. Nothing lasts. Instant gratification. I got cell phones. All my orifices are wired so I can stay in contact with the work. I don't know about, maybe I've overdone it a little bit. I don't know. But I can get everything. So this is now to me, this has a cost. And one of the costs is it breaks down the family unit, and it breaks down a sense of community and a sense of connection. And so the idea of community means to me that we have a job to do. There's work to be done. We've outsourced to the schools the raising of our children. And for a huge number of our children, that doesn't work. All right, I've outsourced to the doctor my health and well-being. I've outsourced to the police my safety. And that doesn't work. It hasn't made me safe. I've outsourced to the government the environment. Why don't you guys do something about the environment? And so whatever it is you care about, the elderly, now I'm a demographic who's primed to be warehoused. All right? As soon as I get a little more infirm, and I'm getting a lot of ads now, I'm the right age, the right height, and I'm overschooled. And so we take the elderly, say, where can we send them? We take behavioral problems, where can we send them? Our schools are early training grounds for the pipeline that leads to prison. And so we got more people in prison in this country than any other country in the world, and we're not even the biggest. So this notion that somehow the school can raise a child, doctors keep me healthy, police keep me safe, this is what's not working. So to me, building community is to reclaim those jobs and say we in a neighborhood with each other in our institutions, and so that's what I kind of want to use this evening for, is to say, what would it look like if we decided that we lived in a world that wasn't based on scarcity and competition and individualism and all these kinds of things. And I think that's why you show up. You say, why do people come to a session on community? Well, it's to rethink this notion that what I need, I can buy. And the world's on our side. So that's one set of thoughts. The other set of thoughts is that Community is a place-based thing. And so in a way, the work is to say, who are the people within walking distance of my life, and how do I change my connections to them? And so there's something about place that matters. I like this place. You care about this place. Now maybe where you take your identity from is too small. And instead of Muskegon, you're thinking, well, let's talk about a county. But since I've been here today, I'm with people who care about where you are. That's what I like about the Midwest, is we're not a glamorous spot, which I think is great. And so you say, well, what can we do in this place, and to create the sense of community, and create a sense of community that will take back what I thought I could buy. So that's the opening thought. So there's certain qualities that have everything to do with community. One is the notion of gift-mindedness. So in the dominant culture, it's a deficiency-mindedness. I'm always reminded of what's wrong with me. People who want to help me give me feedback. They say, Peter, would you like some feedback? Well, lately I've been saying no, because I know if they ask that question, they're mad at me. And people give me feedback packaged as help, and I know they're disappointed. And so we have this notion that we need to work on our deficiencies. I've been working on my deficiencies for 60 years. I started when I was about 10 or 11. And I noticed at some point that I'm working on the same deficiencies today that I worked on 50 years ago. Each of my wives have given me the same feedback. That's my evidence. I've been their project. And they've been working with love, intensity, and a variety of tools to help me get better. And they're still working on it, still the same stuff. I love to finish other people's sentences. Every time I hear a sentence, I think, I can finish that. Not better, but faster. So if anybody starts a sentence around me, I'm right there with a period in my hand saying, let me finish that for you. I've had coaching, I've had training, I've had medication. Okay, it's a new diagnostic category. Okay, sentence finisher. Got it? None of it's been useful. So what do you make of that? Well, what you make of that is that working on deficiencies doesn't help. Focusing on disabilities isn't useful. Focusing on what's wrong with me. And so in some ways, community is based on a gift-mindedness, which means that deficiency, you might call me, is not who I am. It bothers me when people get introduced and say, here's Peter, I'd like you to meet my friend John. He's homeless. And I say, that's not who John is. I don't show up and say, my name is Peter and I'm housed. You have the people work in the public benefits sector. They say, I run a not-for-profit. That's not what you're running. You don't identify yourself by what you're not. All right? I don't say, my name is not John. Glad to meet you. And so the whole deficiency mindset is what shifts when you start caring about a citizen-based economy, a citizen-based society instead of a consumer-based society. And so the deficiency notion doesn't take us anywhere. All it does is create a demand for services. And if you're poor and aren't mainstream, you have consumed a lot of services. And what more evidence do we need that more services won't be helpful? Because here we are. And so the whole notion of how do I heal the woundedness of people on the margin. If people have been in prison, I now call them homecomers, returning citizens. My job is not to train them some more, but it's to welcome them and say, we've missed you. We need your gifts and talents. You know how to do things the rest of us get nervous about. You can go places that I can't go. And to be poor in this modern culture, you got to be entrepreneurial. You got to be smart and clever. And if you do funny kind of businesses, you know how to pay attention. You don't work Republican Green Street in Cincinnati from 8 at night till 3 in the morning without being alert. All right? Most of us are kind of dozed out by that time, watching American Idol. But so all of that starts to shift in your thinking. And you start saying, well, let me look at what people's gifts are. That the purpose of raising a child is to help them by the age of 18 to know what they're good at. Not to whether they got an A or a B or a C or winning out of school. And so gift-mindedness is a whole conversation. The other is the welcoming of strangers. The enemy to healing the woundedness and make these strong communities is like-mindedness. And so we've all become like-minded. I go online, I buy something, they tell me, here's what other like-minded people have bought. So I'm a market. And we want to be with like-minded people. We've resegregated in Cincinnati. And so part of the work is to say, how do I create a culture of hospitality? That the purpose of this evening is to give expression to your welcoming of strangers. And to me, that's what the disability, recovering from mental illness, all the people that carry the woundedness of the rest of us. All right, you're just invisible. In Cincinnati, the notion youth at risk, the youth are not at risk, I'm at risk. People say, youth, you're my future. I say, no. Why would I avoid my accountability by saying youth is the future? And so the shift says, I am the future. These are not youth at risk. These are young people with gifts and talents and aliveness. And so we have something called Elements in Cincinnati, where they walk in from the West End, and we say, what do you love to do? They thought we were going to ask them, did you finish high school? Do you have a record? Do you own a gun? Do you know any white people that are friends? These are the diagnostic questions that the professional world wants to know. I wouldn't ask those questions because they don't take me anywhere. They take me to a service mentality. And so the alternative is say, what do you love to do? Can you dance? You like music? And so it's a hip-hop culture. So we're going to teach you to make music, record music, engineer music, sing music, promote music, be an agent, learn how to dance, graffiti, make some money being a DJ. So the whole gift-mindedness also opens up a whole other kind of economy. And you say, well, let's take our youth, people that we're concerned about, and find out what they love to do, find out what they're good at, and so that becomes and it welcomes then the strangers. This culture's paranoid about immigrants. There used to be a melting pot. I don't know, somebody turned off the stove. And you say, maybe Ottawa County, maybe this area has come together tonight simply to become a welcoming voice to the world, to the community. I need strangers. If I don't have a stranger, I'm not going to learn anything. Like-minded people don't teach me. I'm never surprised by like-minded people. That's why we come together. We're going to break up into small groups in a few minutes, and I'm going to ask you to meet with a stranger. Why? Because you can't learn anything from people that know you because they think they know you. My family thinks they know me. They haven't even dreamed of who I am, but because they know me, any chance I try to change, they say, don't try that crap on me. They say, you haven't been to another workshop, have you? Don't try that stuff here, which means that they are invested in my predictability. And the dominant narrative, patriarchal culture loves predictability. It loves consistency and control. This is what school is all about. It's about custodial care and socialization. I want you to be predictable. And so if I want to be surprised, if you want to create an alternative future for your community, your neighborhood, you have to be with the stranger. Because that's the only way you'll learn a new song, a new way of thinking, a new way of being. I cannot open up an alternative future with like-mindedness. And so I want to talk a little more about that, but the notion of hospitality, welcome to strangers. I need that. I don't welcome you because you need me. I need you. I don't welcome you home from prison to help you. I need your gifts. I need your talents. I need your skills. I need your experience. So hospitality, big deal. And the other thought is that all of these are organized by citizens, which is called associational life. First line of defense for food, for safety, are citizens with each other. Safe street comes from eyes on the street. Then once citizens come together, then we need the professionals to help us. The institutions, the agencies, God bless them, we need them, but they come after citizens say, what can we do? So when you come home, mostly you need a circle of support. You don't need more services. Friends of mine have a daughter who's disabled, 22 years old. She's doing great. He says, for all we've done with her, she's still isolated. She's still often surrounded by people that are paid, not by friends. And so you might say this evening, this gathering, you've been invited into the possibility of neighborliness. Old Testament narrative. Jews, Egypt, predatory economy. No matter how much Pharaoh made, it wasn't enough. All right, Jews give up their land, they give up their money, they give up their freedom. Pharaoh says, make these bricks, but now you got to get your own straw. Jews say, we can't do that. Oh, yes, you can. And so in Pharaoh's economy, no matter how much you produce, it's not enough. And we're living that. We're living restless productivity 24/7. The Sabbath, this space, was created as an old political stance against the restless economy. And what was interesting about that story is that Pharaoh, the man who had everything, was nervous. He couldn't sleep. He checked all right? He needed help. He needed a management consultant, so he went after Joseph. And so the restlessness of this culture is a much expression of the economy and what's around us. The belief system we have is the fact that I'm nervous about making a living. And so when the Jews left Egypt, where'd they go? The wilderness. They say, oh, we're nervous about that, but don't worry about it. What did they find in the wilderness? They found out that they had enough manna from heaven, and they discovered neighborliness. So the alternative to a market consumer economy is neighborliness, and that's who you are to me tonight. That you come here as neighbors. You come here caring about your community. And it starts with the neighborliness, and I want to kind of give you a structure for that. And then you say, are there services? Of course there are that I can use. But the idea that services is the first answer, you let go of that a little bit. Final thought, the methodology. Now, usually when this is done, it's much better than anything I'm saying. So if this is a little slow, how long is it going to last? Just watch the screen. The methodology is the small group. That what I want to do when you gather people together with good intent, you say, well, what do we do? Well, I'm an excuse. All right, so the leadership in the patriarchal model is the cause, is the source. We're looking for great leaders. How's it going? People say, we need better leadership. I say, I know we do. How's it going? I said, what kind of leaders do we need? Oh, leaders like Martin Luther King, Lincoln. Every time somebody mentions a great leader, two things are true. One is they're dead, and the second is I never met them. So this notion for better leadership is part of our collusion with this consumer market. So in some ways you say I have to reconstruct the kind of leaders that I'm looking for. I have to change my mind where I'm going to find them. And let the people who are elected officials, God bless them. Anybody who now chooses to be elected official, I say God bless you. Just to have the courage to run. All I would request of elected officials, if you're here, is to stop treating us as customers. Don't treat me as a consumer. Treat me as a citizen. And half the crap that I come to you and ask for, tell me, that's your job. Got it? So you're renegotiating a social contract. So the alternative, if leaders, is to convene. Is to bring people together, but after too long, not after too long, I'll stop talking in a minute. I keep threatening that or promising that. You say, well, small groups is where I find out who you are. So what do the youth need from us? They need to be seen. What do the people on the margin need from me? They need to be known. What's the homeless need from me? They need to be asked, what are you good at and what do you love to do? So that becomes an alternative strategy. And the small group is that place where intimacy can occur, where people get to be seen. And there's some ground rules for the small group, and then I'll break you into small groups. So one of the ground rules when we break into small groups is you have to find somebody you know the least in the room. All right? So you're always breaking people into groups of strangers. I'm fine, people say. I came with my friend, my partner. We're fine. And I know you're fine. Now find a stranger. It won't hurt. Well, we can't because we're in pews and they're all lined up. See, this is the physical structure of patriarchy, all lined up. People come in here. I always love the fact that the back fills up first in church. Now, churches are very welcoming places. No place at the door is more welcoming. But then you come in and you sit in isolation and wait for something to happen. And most people sit in the back So I guess they come to experience God, but they want to make sure they can get out quickly in case He shows up. Okay? So the world gives you pews, it gives you whatever, and then you say, well, how do I want to occupy? So the small group, you're always with the people you know the least. Second thing is you don't wait to be chosen. All right, most of my life I waited to be chosen. I thought something would happen to me. Somebody would knock on my door and say, I have inherited a fortune. Most of us have the fantasy that we were born into royalty. It's just at the age of 3 months we were stolen by a band of roving gypsies. And I'm still waiting for that knock on the door to my rightful inheritance. So you say, don't wait to be chosen. The third is you have to stop helping each other. So our notion of help as a nation is a colonial act. We go to Africa and extract suffering. We go to South America. We go every place else but here and say, oh, look what's wrong with you. We're going to help you out. And those are controlling ways of being. There's no generosity because we give them the money to buy our products. And so the notion of help is a tricky concept. Love is cool, care is cool, help is tricky. Because it says, I know and you don't. We don't need more mentorship. Everybody wants to mentor everybody. Everybody wants their mentor. Everybody wants their mommy. I want my mentor. I want my mommy. Some places we even have water bottles with nipples on them. You ever wonder about what that's about? This is how a sick mind works, all right? And so you say we get away from the parent-child relationship. You say we're citizens coming together to get interested in each other, not to fix each other. It's not that I don't need fixing, it's just that fixing doesn't fix me. Being seen fixes me. So when we break into these small groups, I'm going to ask you, don't be helpful to each other. And you place curiosity with help. Say, you're a stranger, I didn't know you before tonight, and then I'll give you a question that you can talk about. So those are the means by which neighborliness is brought into the world. People meeting in small groups over time. People choosing to be in those small groups over time. People not being helpful to each other, but being curious with each other over time. And in the end, people saying, well, here are the gifts I'm getting from you. That changes the world. It inverts the dominant narrative from one of Pharaoh to one of neighborliness. And to me, that's what these gatherings are about. So let me stop for a second there. So the structure is, I'll give you a question. The other thing about leaders is questions are more powerful than answers. Most of my life I want an answer. People want answers. Why? Answers are usually not helpful because they pretend that you know and I don't. So even if I ask you for advice, you shouldn't give it to me. People ask me for advice and I say, I'll give you advice under one condition. If I give you the advice, will you follow it? And they say, that's not exactly what I had in mind. All right? And so that's the other inversion. You say, this is... So what I'd like to do is give you a question. If you have any questions, we have microphones. You're welcome to ask your question. All you have to lose is the respect of your peers. So most of us are peaking right now anyhow, so it's not that big a deal. So I'd like you to... first, I'd like you to form the group. So what I'd like to do is for you to find 2 other people. Let's form groups of 3. This is a small group interaction. I know you didn't come for this. I know you don't like this touchy-feely stuff. And on and on and on. I know there's no space. The room isn't right for it. On and on and on. I know you came with your partner. You know, dance with the one you came with. In this case, don't dance with the one you came with. You can leave with the one you came with, but don't dance with them. Find 2 other people who you know the least. Don't wait to be chosen. You might have to move. I know this could be traumatic. And then I'll give you a question in a minute that she'll put up on the board. So I'd like you to answer the following question, if you would. Got it? And maybe you could put it up there. Why was it important for you to be here tonight? You showed up tonight. You could have gone somewhere else. You know how to say no. And don't tell me that your friend told you to be here, because you've said no to that friend over and over again. Somebody's even paying a price for you being here tonight. So you chose to be here. And in some ways, the reason you chose to be here, what was important for you to be here tonight, means something. And so when we get together in small groups, we don't talk about what we do or what we did or what happened today. I want to talk about something that matters. You bring meaning into the conversation. So take about 9 minutes. I'm in charge. Talk with the other two people. Why was it important for you to show up here tonight?